Well, we learned one thing from the Exeter game. The Fringe players at Oxford just aren't good enough. Here to discuss that result is Sam, and we're looking ahead to Blackburn Rovers. We're recording this before the Plymouth game. Also, we're looking back at December. Who's December Player of the Month? AI is predicting all Oxford United's home fixtures. What's the result of that? Let us find out at the end. And we're starting January off reflecting how rubbish the month is by picking our worst ever Oxford United 11, starting in goal. We've got Sam back with us to discuss all of that. It's a bumper edition, so thank you very much for joining us. Do drop us a subscribe. We are so close to 100. So close to 100. Can you help us get there? Press the subscribe button. You're just coming across it. It's 20 minutes of Oxford United chat. Plus, if you're an Oxford fan and would always want to be a podcaster, come and join Sam on this next week as we review Blackburn and Plymouth. Right, Sam, I know the most important thing is Plymouth Argyle. It's Tuesday night before we're recording this, but was that a little embarrassing against Exeter?
It wasn't great. I think there was a lot of sloppiness in that performance. None of the players that were kind of squad around the kind of squad, really, itching to get in the starting 11 have done themselves no favors. Some of those players, I can say it was an off day. And Rao was very honest when talking to Radio Oxford this morning that, look, it's a case of, a lot of those players have been, trying to get back to fitness. When we're making 8 changes, it's, can sometimes be understandable. There were certain performances in there that just weren't good enough.
Yeah. Social media reflected that. Luke said it was a hard watch, this one. Lots of players who needed playing time, and I think that showed. They didn't win second balls. Manager made the changes, and the ref had a howler with the red card. Should be appealed and won. After that, it was going to be a hard task to turn it around. Rowan says, I'd rather focus on the league anyway, but that was an embarrassingly terrible performance from a lot of players who had a point to prove. I mean, you've already said all of that. What about the red card decision? Because obviously that affects you for Tuesday night. Was that a wrong decision?
So we got reported literally only a few minutes ago that it's been unsuccessful, the appeal. So Gudrun will be serving his 3-match ban. Look, I think it's definitely a yellow card. I'm not entirely sure it's a red, because if you look at watch it back, obviously Goodman was trying to burst forward through the middle, and the ex-player, I think he's a 17-year-old kid, it was right on his back, and Tyler tried to throw him off and then thrown a straight arm. So he's thrown an arm, which is why I think it's a yellow card. But he actually hits him on the upper bit of the chest, but the Exeter man goes down like a sack of spuds. Ref buys it, and look, that's Tyler's first sending off of his career. He's got stuff to learn. It's one of those things that he's going to have happen probably quite a lot in his career, given he is on the shorter side. He's got a low center of gravity, but that means that opponents are going to, try and drag him down at the earliest opportunity, just because, he's so deadly through the middle. It's a learning opportunity for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we leave the FA Cup alone then? Were you gutted with the draw, or did it even highlight that? So you weren't that bothered.
I think I was, similar line to Rowan. My focus will always be the league this campaign. Cup was always a nice to have, but
would you have liked to play Nottingham Forest at home?
I would have preferred to go to the City Ground, because that's one of those iconic grounds in British football. But I'm sure we'll have another chance at some point down the line. Whether it's get them in the cup again, or if they have a howler of a season and drop back into the Championship and we're still in it. Who knows?
Okay. All right, then let's focus on Blackburn then, shall we? Unfortunately, we can't talk about Plymouth. I mean, just quickly on Plymouth. Just your luck, isn't it? They just got their first away win, so their tails are high, and they've got a very inspirational manager who's come in and sounds like he took a good game. So this is not the Wayne Rooney Plymouth when the original fixture was due, is it?
No. I mean, it's very interesting because what you see a lot of the time when a new manager comes in and the so-called new manager bounce kicks in is that it's a side that have been unlucky with injuries for the most part. And there's, there've been bits and pieces going right, but unable to, maybe make that final pass. Maybe, a striker wasn't quite making the run in time to intercept the ball. And a new manager comes in, brings a couple of new ideas, and things suddenly turn around. Obviously, the away win that Plymouth got, obviously that's quite a significant place to get your first win and kind of get your tails up. But in the league, they've not looked very convincing at all this campaign. I don't think that a change of manager necessarily changes that. You look at last season, the drop off after Steven Schumacher left.
The new manager bounce, so called, is something that you've greatly benefited from, and I know our Plymouth fans were were themselves hoping that this was the Oxford side from 4 weeks ago when you were looking bad. And let's focus on Blackburn though, if that's okay, because that's the one we can confidently talk about. This was a good fixture, wasn't it? And the reverse one, the cracking goal from of course Harris from near enough the halfway line, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There you actually took the lead in this one. This must feel a lifetime ago for Oxford fans. Back in August. Have a look at that team there, though. How much have Oxford changed over the 5 months since even we've been talking to you, Sam?
I think Will Vaulks has obviously, since Gary Routers was appointed, has improved immeasurably. Obviously, this was I think shortly off the back of his pass. That obviously led to Hadji Wright's winner against Coventry, and some are argue he was at fault for the equaliser for Blackburn. This is that was a side that I think was still a bit unpredictable to Championship opposition. It was a new side. There were new ideas under Des Buckingham, but obviously Blackburn, we've seen their quality this campaign. John Hughes is obviously a very, very good manager, and it's going to be a really, really tough test. Look, if you offered me a 0-0 draw, I'd snap your hand off right now.
Yeah, really. They can be vulnerable, especially to the quick break. They haven't got the paciest side. I think Todd Cantwell's running the midfield. That goes to show, doesn't it? Just he's definitely not a spring chicken anymore.
No, but you have to think that, they'll be looking to bounce back after a loss in the derby. They'll be really, desperate to put that right.
Yeah. Okay. We've asked AI to look at all Oxford home fixtures and predict them. We'll have a look at that in a second. First of all, can I get you December Player of the Month before it goes off our radar completely?
Yeah. I think, obviously, if we were talking about the period from when Rout was appointed to Millwall, it would have been Shemi Poheta. But I think it's probably Kieran Brown. Obviously, his performance since Rout has come in. He was fine against Leeds in an overall really terrible performance. And then obviously I think it was a Wednesday game before that, which was obviously led to Des losing his job. Again, relatively fine. Obviously, he does get turned completely by Ashford for Cardiff's first goal. But I think overall, Kieran Brown has been really, really good. Obviously, he's got, I think, 2 goals and 2 assists in December. So it's been a good one for Kieran. Even though I think he was really the only player that stood out this in December for Oxford United.
Okay, brilliant. All right, then we've asked AI then to predict, as we said, all Oxford fixtures. Let's have a look at what they said. First of all, if you look at your fixture list, other than that Leeds game at the end of the month or the end of the season, it's quite favourable. This, isn't it? You've got, after Blackburn, you've got Luton, Bristol City, Portsmouth, Coventry, Watford, and QPR sandwiched in there. And obviously, you've got Sunderland. So, you've got to have enough points on the board, haven't you, before kind of those last kind of 4 games come in with Sheffield United, Leeds, and Sunderland. You're on a nice run of home games now for a couple of months.
Yeah, obviously, it's not the veil of home form that we had at the beginning of the campaign. Obviously, Obviously, Bristol City will, Liam Manning will want to get one over us at Grenoble Road. And, I'm sure Chrissy Wilder will want to do the same thing when he comes back to OX4. I think there are definitely some winnable games in there. I think Coventry potentially, it's certainly has the possibility given how we play at home compared to when we do or how we do away from home. Obviously that last kind of 5 home games is really horrible. But there's some really important games in there. Obviously, we've got, I think it's in between the Sunderland game, we've got Cardiff and then Swansea away from home. So, those will be much more important than against, especially against Leeds and Sunderland, 2 sides that will be probably, in around the automatic spots.
Yeah. AI predicts that you'll get 15 points from these. Would you take that? Yeah, 15 points.
I think so. I mean, a draw against Blackburn, obviously beating Luton and Bristol City is, us and Portsmouth is always a draw. It's God knows how many times they've come to our place and we've drawn that game. Loss against Watford, it's that game showed us when we played them in November. They, we talked about it on here. They're a few levels above us. And then obviously Leeds. I'm very much surprised they'd say we beat Sunderland because obviously they've just looked incredible this campaign.
Yeah, I think AI is predicting that Sunderland will be done and dusted by then and will be resting players for the playoffs. That's your hope, isn't it, by then as well? Huge game against Bristol City. But yeah, lots of excitement. Lots of excitement to come. And of course, you can follow all our reviews here with Sam and the rest of the team over the next 4 months. Thanks for that, Sam. One last job before we let you go for this particular episode. It's not a nice one. It's January. It's rubbish. It's cold. No one's got any money. So we're flipping that on its head and picking our worst ever Oxford United 11 over the course of the next 4 weeks. You can help us by putting your comments below. We need a goalkeeper this week, strikers next week, and then the midfield the week after. So let's start with the goalkeeper, shall we? 20 years we're going back from when the Championship has existed. Obviously, most of that has been spent lower than that. But who's the worst goalkeeper you've ever seen or have the misfortune of seeing in an Oxford shirt?
I think it's between 2. So obviously, going back, 20 years is would have been our first. No, it would have been the season we just got relegated into the National League. Obviously, I wasn't. I'm not old enough to remember that far back. But for the most part, in the time I've been an Oxford fan, we've had pretty decent goalkeepers. Ryan Clark, an absolute legend at our football club. Obviously, more recently, Simon Eastwood. We had Beadle on loan last season, who was phenomenal. We love him. Jamie Cumming, who has really stepped up in the Championship. So we've not had an awful lot, but I think it's between 2 maybe. And I'm talking about keepers that have played actually, a significant number of minutes. Because obviously there's Jordan Archer, who didn't really, was not impressive. So you've got Ed McGinty, who obviously has just left the football club to go to Shamrock Rovers. His Oxford time really was hallmarked by just a mad game against Swansea. Handle the ball outside of his area and then save the winning, a deciding pen in the shootout in the cup. But I think it's got to be, and this hurts because he was a scholar. He came through the academy. Jack Stevens sometimes looked a little bit of a headless chicken in goal. And it's horrible to say, like I said, because, he came through the academies quite perfectly for Oxford United. When we went to Cambridge last season on the open day, he put in a really good performance. I just thinking of all the ones I've personally seen, it'd probably be Jack Stevens.
Okay. I can hopefully say that people in the comments are going to either disagree with that or suggest even worse. Can you beat Jack Stevens? Let us know in your comments below. Right, Sam, a good luck against Plymouth. Should be an interesting one this Tuesday night as this goes out, and then enjoy the game against Blackburn. And on Saturday, we'll be seeing you back here next week to review all of it. Hope we see you back here as well. Drop a subscribe. We're so close to 100. Can you help us get there? Thank you for watching. See you next week.